for everyone. Hi all, it's Marcy here from NYNA, and I'm very excited today to have Katie from ProNotary. You might know her from Blue Notary prior to. You might know her from her Ron group in Facebook. That's 4,000 plus strong at the moment, right? She's all over the place with her YouTube videos. We're so excited to have you here, Katie, today. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm very excited. Um, yeah, so I just kind of wanted to clear. I am the former notary relations director for Blue Notary, but I have moved. I am the sales and marketing executive for ProNotary. We have our own YouTube channel. We have our own Ron platform, and then also separate to that, I do have my YouTube channel where I yap about notarizations a little bit. So
Yes.
thank you for having me.
Of course. So for everyone who hasn't come to a Ron demo before, we're going to give Katie a minute she told you all about herself. She's going to go ahead and share her screen to show you how ProNotary works, because we love having more platforms to choose from out there. This will be recorded, so if you can't stay for the whole thing, we're going to put it on the NYNA site when it's over. If you have any questions, you can drop them in the chat or the Q&A. We'll kind of monitor as we go along. Otherwise, Katie, I'm going to turn it right over to you.
Sure. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Give me 1 second while I get that kind of set up. Okay, so I think that everybody can see what I can see, correct?
We absolutely can, yes.
Perfect. So I'm going to go ahead and go to where it says present full screen, and then just hop right into it, maybe. All right, so I'm just gonna hop right into it. So my name's Katie. I'm presenting ProNotary today. So we are a remote online notarization software that is based in Texas. So this is our co-founder. His name is Sam. One of the wonderful things about our company is that we're very much relationship-based business. So we work with you in order for you to grow our business, so to grow your business so that our business also grows as well. So we've been founded over in Texas, and we've been around since 2018. So for those of you who might not be aware, if you're more an in-person notary, or just kind of getting into the space, remote online notarization is basically a combination of Zoom and DocuSign combined, where the signers can be anywhere, and then everything is connected through a secure audio-visual technology, which is ProNotary. So the next thing that is the common question is, what are the common documents that you can see for RONs? Because as with anything, there are pros and cons. And I'll tell you right now that sometimes lenders and underwriters do not always like remote online notarizations. So that is changing. There's a lot of different people that are working very hard to kind of get that adopted within the mortgage space. But for right now, what you can typically see for common documents, if you are working in that space, is seller's packages or cash deals. We have a wide variety of different types of notarizations that are constantly being needed. So we also see a lot of construction and laws or litigation. The next one that I wanted to go into is a little bit of a demo to see what it looks like, but let me go to the next one because I'll show you at the end, because I already have it kind of loaded up, because this is a 7-minute video and I don't know that you guys would want to hang out for the whole entire thing where I'm just chatting. So I wanted to get into our fee schedule as well, because this is one of the things that I'm very, very excited about. Because it is so competitive, especially if you're doing something that has a lot of seals, or something of that nature. So we have our cloud. I think we're going to rename that because it's a little bit confusing, to our essentials. So that is our base price, and that's $59 a month. We also have our business plan. That's $99 per month per seat. So if you have 2 notaries, it'd be 99 plus 99. But then this is our gem of a price point, which is $10 per session. So per session means per transaction. So if you have an entire loan document, if it's been approved, and you have 15 different seals. On some of the other variable pricing notarization platforms, you don't necessarily know how much it's going to end up being if you have something that you haven't gone through and counted all the seals. This is easy. So it's just $10 as you send out the session. So that's one of the better points of ProNotary. So I really wanted to highlight that. There's no contract. So, it's usually you can do either a month by month or a yearly base contract or sign up. And then there's no startup costs at all. So the other thing that I wanted to go over is the different types of approved states. So it's a little bit easy because we're approved in New York, or compliant in New York. But if you have anyone else that wants to kind of look into us, we are approved on these, and we also just got approved in Montana. So that is something that we're constantly working on. And if you see that you're in a state that does not, like if you're in a state that doesn't have this on there, like if we're not approved, I have something for you at the very end. So we'll get into why it's exciting anyway. For our security, we have the two-factor authentication. We have a cloud system, which is a closed loop. We are SOC 2 and MISMO approved, which is basically like a different security rating. For MISMO, sometimes the title companies will ask about that, and we are approved. Okay, excuse me. So marketing highlights. Some of the different types of highlights that I wanted to get into is that you have expanded client reach, you have reduced shipping costs, and then also you will be able to have a leg up on people that are going on vacation, or if you needed to work with foreign nationals, you have a huge advantage to our in-person notaries. As much as I love the in-person notarizations, it's almost easier to market if you do switch to Ron, because you have all of these extra bells and whistles where it's like, if you have someone in New York, but they're on vacation over in Canada, you can still do the notarization for them as long as you're following your state guidelines. So that's the caveat that I always have to put in there. So the other thing that I wanted to highlight is the increase of efficiency. So we partner with you to go over some of the things that will help you get your signers signed on. So we have a sign-on guide. We have an onboarding process that goes over the email that I send out to all of my clients to make the whole process a little bit easier. But a way to think about this is the time that it would take for a in-person notarization. And this is something to kind of throw at both the title companies or any of the general notary work signers that you're working with, the time frame. So, traditional notarization would take anywhere between 1 to 2 hours, depending on the drive time. Whereas if it's a RON, and if it's like, let's say an affidavit that's 2 pages, it should only take about 5 minutes, depending on your skill set, and then your signer's skill set as well. And we also partner with you to kind of go over some of the different ways that you can make things easier, both on yourself and on the signers, when you do the onboarding. So the other thing that I wanted to go into is the use case of the different types of people that we typically see or that we typically help. That's service members. So overseas, that's a different untapped market that not a lot of people talk about. But it is kind of cool to be the notary that is helping someone in some other country where, they might be in barracks or anything like that. So that's always something that's very nice to be able to help service members. Another highlight is investors. Investors love using RONs, especially if they're doing cash deals, and if they know the notary, if it's an independent, that they can just, the notary can sign on, the investor can sign on, the notary knows the investor, and then they do the notarization really quickly. Those are almost my preferred type of signers. And then also the unique scenarios where it's like elderly or limited mobility. And then anyone that has any type of special need where they might have to stay home with family members. That is something that we can also really, really help with. And it does make a huge difference in people's days. So common questions that I usually get is, does ProNotary provide the document storage and journal? Yes. There's no extra cost. There's no monthly fee. We just take care of that for you. You do have access to be able to download it at will. So let's say a title company or a law firm wants that, or if you want to put it somewhere in a different secured manner, you can. But otherwise, we would store that for the legal amount, which I believe for most states is 10 years. We do have biometrics. I would have to check to see if that's available in your state. And we're SOC 2 and MISMO approved. Marcy, you might know if biometrics is available. I'm not sure. I'm sorry.
Yep, in New York it is. Mhm.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So then it's available. So the other thing that I wanted to highlight is the ways to diversify your income, especially with this, is let's say you have price points that are, $150 for a seller's package. That's well and good, but for the smaller things, it might not have made sense for you to drive out, take your time, print it out, drive out and do some of the smaller fee things. But with Ron, it's just, you pay the $10 for the transaction, and then you can charge your state fees for that. And it might make it a little bit more lucrative to you to be able to do some of these general notary work or these smaller things without having to drive. So that is something to think about. But these are the different ways to diversify your income. And by switching over to Ron, it kind of brings down your price point. So it's just something that is really, really nice. Okay, so this is our cloud, also known as our essentials. So it's for individual notaries. You can have up to 3 signers plus the notary. So let's say there's a couple and a witness, and then yourself. That's the $59 a month. And then if you want to do the full year, it's $575. So I wanted to go over that. And then this is our more, like, most people kind of like this one. So it's the team plus an admin. So you can have up to 6 signers plus the notary within the business plan. You can have more documents per transaction. You have team collaboration. Let me see if I can move this. Okay, yeah. You have the team collaboration, and that's $99 a month per seat. And then if it's just one notary, you would have $960 per year. And then you would save that 20%. So if you do have enterprise, reach out to me. Because if you have a higher price point, have a higher volume, we can always talk about discounts on volume, and then you get a little bit more extra support. So just reach out to me directly, because I would love to talk to you about what that would look like. We also have our white label feature. That's an option. That is usually an added option where you would have to pay a little bit more, but that is for branding. So let's say on the right hand side, you see the ProNotary branding, where everything would be, our information. If you wanted to, you could brand it with your own information, and that is what it looks like over on the left-hand side. And that's for, a signing company called Global Signings. So they chose their own colors and everything like that. And that's what that would look like. So that's also an option. And then this is something else that I wanted to really, really highlight, because this is one of the more generous things that our company does. And that is our partner program. So if you have someone that is looking into going with ProNotary, or just wants to sign up with them, make sure that you sign up with the partner program. By doing so, we give you $50 just for signing up. And that's if you start referring people to us. We obviously want to thank you very much for that. So it would be $50 for each sale that you would deliver. So any client that you bring to us that signs up, you would get $50, and then plus the $50 for when you first sign up. it does have some things that I wanted to go over. So the payout requirement is $100 minimum. And then also it is processed 2 months at the end of the month after they have signed up. And that's just so that way we make sure that they stay there and they don't just sign up and then just leave right away. That hasn't happened, but just in case, we want to make sure that it's fair for us too. And that is, yes, that is it. If you have any questions, we can go ahead and go over it, but give me 1 minute because I did want to show you kind of, and I don't know why it's a little bit like this, but it's a little bit blurry, but you can see this is what it looks like on the inside. Here, let me see if I can do it without any sound. This is what it looks like on the inside. So that's just my own face talking. So don't pay attention to that, but you would be able to see both the different signers right here. We have a bunch of different features, and then we have an entire YouTube that goes over everything. So right now we have 36 different videos with a bunch of different interviews, but then also how to use the software. So I've highlighted some of the more asked for, or if you have questions about it, I'll do a video. But otherwise, we have a bunch of different trainings and different streams of income. So we really want to support you as a notary. So I'm going to go
Katie,
ahead and
can I
stop.
ask a couple of questions?
Yeah, of course.
So you said that you're MISMO certified. Will you guys be
Yes.
working towards getting on underwriter approval lists as you move forward, or is that not something in your wheelhouse?
That is something that is in our wheelhouse.
Great.
So yeah, yeah. So that's something that we're working for. We always love it if any of our clients or potential clients want to reach out to the underwriters and be somewhat of the squeaky wheel, because they kind of listen a little bit more if there's more voices. So that's always something that we're interested in. But yes, that is definitely something that we're working towards for almost all of the underwriters, and most of like the major ones that you're most likely thinking about, we're working on it.
Perfect. And can
Yeah.
you talk a little bit about your customer support and your training that ProNotary offers? I know customer service, customer support is so important for
Yes.
those of us who are not maybe the most technologically savvy.
That's fine. Yeah, that's fine. So we do have our email support. So that is usually 9 to 5, Monday through Friday. But our staff is pretty responsive anytime that you have any type of questions. But also we mitigate that a little bit too for some of the questions that some of our clients have by doing an onboarding session. So once you get signed up, you get a series of emails that go through, how to get signed on, how to upload all of your information, and then you have access. I mean, we made this public so that way anyone could kind of, refer to it and go through everything. But we also do an onboarding session. So we would go over any questions that you have, basically walk you through doing your first notarization, just because we obviously want you to be able to use the platform, because we've seen it where people will buy the platform and not really, play around with it and not use it. And we obviously want you to. So we'll do an onboarding session with you, just to make sure that the ropes, some of the really good highlights of it, and you stick with us. So that's one of the things that kind of sets us apart is we do a one-on-one, usually within a couple days, depending on everybody's schedule, to be able to do, more hands-on information. So yeah.
Perfect. So you have biometrics and obviously the KBA. Do you accept foreign ID?
So we will accept foreign passports. I believe that we will accept a foreign Canadian driver's license and a foreign Mexican driver's license. But aside from that, you would most likely have to reach out to us if there is something that is a little bit tricky. But for the most part, um, you would just need that, like, the most common ones. But yes.
Perfect. And then do you handle, so between the electronic journal and the
Mhm.
recording, do you guys store that for the full 10 years? Everyone's pretty much 10 years.
Yeah.
And if the notary left your platform, would they still have access to those? Do they need to take those with them? How does that work?
So we're as far as I'm concerned, as far as I know, we're legally required to hold that for the 10 years. Um, so yes, we would still hold it and they would still have access to it, but they wouldn't have access to being able to do like live notarizations or anything. Um, and then if they ever wanted to, they could obviously, they have access, so they would be able to download it and do whatever they needed to do with that. Yeah.
Okay. Does anybody have any other questions out there? Oh, digital stamp, digital certificate. Do you guys provide that? Do they need to get their own? What about those two things?
Okay, so we provide the digital stamp. So the digital stamp meaning the actual like picture of the stamp that goes on
Yes.
the actual document. Yeah. And then for the digital certificate, usually we don't provide that. Usually you would go through IdenTrust.
Mhm.
I believe the NNA might provide it, but honestly, I think it's just through IdenTrust anyway and at the same price point. So you might as well just do it through that. And then I don't think that we wouldn't necessarily recognize any of the other digital certificates that might be provided by any of the other platforms. Yeah, we don't, yeah,
That's okay. That's pretty common and standard. Yes, you
yeah,
can buy it through the NNA as well for the same price. So whether you go, yeah, I mean, it's up to you where you want to get it, but it's
yeah.
not six of one, half a dozen of another, really.
Exactly. I'm like,
Um,
well,
if we wanted to have you come back and do an actual demonstration of the platform, like do a run, would that be something that you might be interested in doing? I put you on the
of
spot. So,
No, that's fine. Yeah, of course. Yeah, of course.
all right.
I'd have to figure out. So the only thing is that we would have to do it where the person is known. Just because on the live, I don't make them show their ID or like go
Sure.
through. Yeah.
Yeah.
But other than that, yeah, I would be fine with that. That
All
would be
right.
great. Thank
Do you want to drop in the chat your Facebook group so everyone can
you.
join if
Sure.
they'd like
Yeah.
to? There's a wealth of information in there, certainly, and it's so good to network with other notaries to hear what they're experiencing, right? I mean, it's one of those things where you don't know until you don't know, right? So to
Yes.
hear other
Yeah.
people go through it first sometimes alleviates the pain point that you might have.
Yes. Yeah, I definitely think that I mean, I know that you're not necessarily supposed to get your information from like a Facebook group, but
You're not. I don't believe in Facebook University, so I put this
no,
out
no,
there.
no, no,
100%.
don't, don't. But it has been super helpful to talk about, like, okay, how do you guys get paid? Do you get paid before or after? Or, like, where should I go to find out this? And so that has been very helpful. And just some solidarity where it's like, okay, this happened to me today. So,
Yes.
yeah,
And then I think is where it's most helpful, right? Recently, I was doing a run where like we could not get through it. Like it kept kicking out the signer and they couldn't click and I couldn't figure out why. And then I was like, wait a minute, what browser are you on? Are you on Chrome? And they were like, we're on Safari. And I'm like, oh no, we need to come off of Safari. So, but
yeah.
that was because I had seen someone else in another group say that they had a lot of problems using
Hmm.
a different browser. I don't know that I would have thought that immediately on my own had I not seen someone bring it up. So I do love groups, and I don't love groups in general, but I do love groups for that kind of reason. It does help you in your own situations going forward. So I
Yeah.
appreciate that. And I will say Katie's group is good at that. There's not a lot of um there's a lot of solidarity and not a lot of complaining, right? It's more one of the more positive groups out there. How is that?
I try. I'm like, if you guys don't, I'm kicking you out. We're the get along group.
Yes,
So yeah,
let's just all play nice in the sandbox together. Katie,
yeah.
thank you so much for coming today. I certainly appreciate this was a wealth of information. As I said earlier, we're going to go ahead and post this on the NYNA page, and then Katie and I will coordinate a time and a day, in the next bit here to do an actual demo so you guys can see how it works.
Perfect. Well, thank you guys.
Thanks so much. I hope you guys all have a great day. It is Thursday, one more day to go, and then we're to the weekend.
Thank you.
Take care, everyone.